Welcome back to my channel. I'm A.K. Mulford, a full-time author and part-time chaos gremlin, sharing with you behind-the-scenes author life and helpful but unhinged writing advice. And today we're talking about everything you could possibly need to know about your first signing event. We're talking how many books to bring, stuff you need for your table, stuff you need to bring for yourself that you might not think about, and lots of tips and tricks and hacks for how to deal with the event and how to navigate the day as well. Now, I am by no means an expert in these book signing events. I go to them somewhat frequently and I do pretty well at them, but there are certainly people who have a much more keen aesthetic eye and have much grander tables. But this is my chaotic list of all of the things that I bring and maybe some ideas that will help you prep for your first book event as well. Thank you to Hey It's Whit Livon for all of these questions. If you have any questions about authoring life, feel free to let me know in the comments and I just might make a whole video about it. I am just starting getting ready for a big book event in Sydney, Australia, and so book events are really on my mind right now. I am surrounded by the chaos of pre-packing preparations. And so I wanted to run you through my process of how I decide how many books to bring, what I'm bringing at the table, my prep list, all of that so that you can have a better insight into what goes into these book events and some things that you might want to bring. So first, prepping ahead. Most of these events will have a pre-order form. You can do a pre-order. I do pre-orders usually through Baventi. And then you can get a list of how many people have pre-ordered certain books. Are certain events more skewed, let's say, to fantasy, events skewed towards contemporary, and so I can kind of rejig how many books I want to bring to sell on the day based on the pre-orders. Now, there's no perfect science to the number of how many books you bring. There's a lot of factors to consider, like if you're shipping the books and you don't sell them all on the day, will you have to ship them back again? And will you be able to recoup the costs of all of that shipping? If you're driving to the event, I would say bring more books because you can just drive them home at the end of the day. For me, some events, my pre-orders are usually like 10% of what my sales on the day will be. And some events, they've been like 50% of what I sell on the day. So for example, this upcoming book event, Babe in Sydney, I'm going to be doing a whole vlog about that trip and all of like my tips and tricks and things that I'm doing as I'm going on that event. So you can come along and watch that journey with me. That will be next week's video. But for Babe, I've had a lot of pre-orders and there's no way I could bring like triple or quadruple the amount of pre-orders as well to sell on the day. So I think I'm going to bring 2 to 3 times the amount of books as pre-orders for my fantasy books because this is a fantasy heavy crowd, and then bring the same amount as pre-orders or double for my rom-coms. So it'll just come down to how many books we have to bring. If we could sell even half of the ones on the day, that would be a really great profit for me. So I would be very happy with that. But I also don't want to sell out too quickly and have a lot of people be disappointed that they didn't get one, especially with the fantasy hardcovers because those are book signing exclusive. So I am going to bring a few more of those. So the math for me also depends on how many people are going to the event. If 100 people are going to an event, I feel like 10 to 20 books is plenty. Whereas if it's 1,000 or 2,000 person event, I might want to bring like 60 to 100 copies of each book, depending again if it's the right genre or crowd for whatever book it is. But pre-orders tend to be a good indicator of how keen people are to buy on the day. It never hurts when you sell out, you know, like if you're sold out of all of your stock, that's a cool thing to celebrate. So I would say try and aim in the middle of not too much, not too little. Do those numbers and work out if it's going to cost you a lot to bring more, don't bring as much. And if it's free to bring as much as you want, you might as well just have a few extra boxes under the table that you just bring home at the end of the day. I usually close my pre-orders about a month before the event so that I have enough time to make sure I have everything in stock and ready to go. All right, what sort of things do you need to bring for your table? So you obviously are bringing yourself and your books. And really all you need to bring beside that is a pen, something to sign the books with. But here are all of the other things that I bring as well. And all of these are just suggestions and ideas. You don't have to do all of these things, but this is kind of how I break it down. So first, you've got your signage. A lot of people have like the roll-up banners. I don't really like bringing those. I don't feel like they add heaps of value for me, in my opinion, and they're kind of like heavy, take up a lot of room in a suitcase. If I have a wall behind me, like a Velcro wall, I will Velcro an extra tablecloth with my name and logo behind me. So I have that nice backdrop. I've seen people who've really done it up with cool cool art and like backgrounds and whole like stands behind them and things like that. You don't have to do that. It looks really cool if you want to do that, but it depends on the venue and the size. Some places don't have backdrops behind the authors. It will just depend. So first is all of the signage. So signage being your tablecloth, roll-up banner, things that let people know who you are from a distance so that they can come to your table and find you. Other things that I have as far as signage goes are things that can communicate to people if I am too busy signing books and people want to just come browse the table and have the information presented to them without me having to tell them verbally. This is really helpful if it's going to be a busy event because you're kind of doing crowd control. Even if you have an assistant or two assistants, it's quite helpful for people who don't want to like engage in conversation to have the information just ready to go. I've got a price list that I put on a stand that has a breakdown of all of the things that I'm offering at the event so people can easily see what the prices are and the discounts. I will also usually put little price sticker like Starburst labels on the items as well if it's confusing, because sometimes people think they can just take certain merch things for free and stuff. The goal is to overly communicate everything people need to know while still looking aesthetic. And then I also have these little A5 size banners. These just communicate what the book is about, the tropes that are in it, all of the basic things that you would want to know if you were deciding to buy a book or not. You know, how spicy is it? What sort of things you expect when you open the pages, all of that. And then I can have those on the table so that people can just go like, is this what I'm looking for? And they can read the little thing and decide without having to engage if they don't want to. You know, some bookish people are introverts and it just gives them the opportunity to do that. Also for signage, I have my little sign here that has both of my pen names and a QR code to all of my socials. Again, just making it very easy for people to like scan and grab stuff. And it also has a little spot for my Square reader. So this is the other thing that you'll want to bring. You'll want to bring some sort of form of payment. So this is a really easy way to have an itemized list on my phone of all of the things and the discount bundles. And then I can just ring people up on my phone and they can tap here. Quite often this is something I have an assistant do while I'm busy like doing the meet and greet side and signing the books. By the time somebody leaves my table, they will be very sick of seeing my name because it will be everywhere. All right, so that is the signage. And then there's little things like decor, things that you want to make the table look shiny and pretty with. So I usually do some fairy lights, like some twinkly lights, a muslin tablecloth or something, just to kind of add some texture and dimension to the table. Because it's a fantasy event, I'm also bringing my LED light candelabra, which is fun because the candles kind of like flicker and I just think it adds like a fun little extra vibe. And I'm also bringing a goblet that I'm going to fill with pens for people to grab. And that brings us nicely into the next thing, which is swag. So like free things that you have at your table for people to grab. I'm going to have pens for people. I'm going to have a whole bunch of stickers and bookmarks for people to grab. Quite often my bookmarks will have a QR code on the back so that people can just scan that code and go directly to buy the book, which is very helpful if you sell out, you having a QR code so that they can still go buy the book. Sometimes people are brand new to you and aren't ready to purchase a book from you. So I also give them the option of just like, get to know me, here's my socials, and I offer them a free novella to read. Another thing that I give people for free that they really love is character art. Some people sell character art, but for me, I just give it away for free with a little QR code on the back for people to go buy the book. The character art tends to be really popular. People really enjoy these and they get snapped up really quickly. And it's just a nice way for them to kind of like get the vibes of your story. I think a lot of people are very visual, and so being able to see really quickly like what is going on in the story is a really nice way for people to engage with your books. And also then they have the link if they want to do more things like follow you on socials or sign up to your Patreon or, you know, things like that. Some of the less glamorous but equally important things to bring are all of the like little incidental stuff that you go like, oh, I wish I had scissors, I wish I had tape, I wish I had some safety pins, you know, things like that, like stuff that you might need to pin things up or tape things down on the day. I bring a lot of like Velcro strips and like buttons and things, multiple kinds of scissors because a lot of my books are wrapped in plastic and so needing to cut those open, but you just like never know. It's always good to just have some like tape and scissors and pins and things just in case. Another good thing to have is a backup power bank. You just never know, you want to have that extra backup. Another thing to have is your pre-order list printed out ahead of time. A couple times I print them out, one to check off when I'm packing them, one to check off when people pick them up, because not all the venues have Wi-Fi, or they might make you pay for Wi-Fi. It might be patchy and disconnected. You can't rely on the internet, so you want to make sure that you have backup power for your phone if you're doing like a Square Reader thing, and all of your pre-orders printed out ahead of time so that you can just scratch them off as people come to pick them up on the day. All right, so what about you? What do you need to bring on the day for yourself? One thing that might be good to bring is a high-vis vest or bump-in. Bump-in is the time where you're setting up your table before the readers come in. And sometimes they have two times. They'll have a bump-in time the night before, in which case you need closed-toed shoes and a high-vis vest in order to navigate that area, because there might be like forklifts going around and stuff, and there's like health and safety rules. High-vis, closed-toed shoes. And while we're talking about shoes, if you're going to wear dress-up shoes, wear the comfiest dress-up shoes you possibly can. You're probably going to be standing more than you're sitting on the day. People will want to take photos with you, and so you'll be standing up and passing things and sitting down again, even just in the packing up and packing down process. So have comfy clothes, comfy shoes. Some of these events I'm dressing up and cosplaying it, and even then I'm thinking like, how can I cosplay and be comfy at the same time, which I feel like is important. Other things to bring are just kind of like the mom kit of life stuff, like water bottle, like some snacks if you need them, band-aids, you know, just in case, deodorant. You're gonna be hugging a lot of people probably. If you get overstimulated, think about those things, like maybe have some loops and some fidgets and things like that. A lot of my rings are fidgets, and so sometimes I use these when I'm feeling overstimulated. Just be prepared with all those things. Take care of yourself. I usually bring a backup pair of shoes just in case, and like a sweater, you know, things like that. Just all of those like little things. You get so focused on the table looking great and having enough books and things that you forget, oh yeah, like I'm a human being and my lips might get dry and I might need some chapstick or something. So make sure to remember all of those things for yourself as well. Okay, so a couple other tips for dealing with crowd control on the day. Sometimes you'll have maybe lulls where there's nobody at your table. Maybe you'll have a lot of people at your table and feeling overwhelmed with lines and things. If you have an assistant, you can always have an assistant do the pre-orders while you ring up and sign people, or your assistant can ring up people while you're signing. It's a good idea to have an assistant who's a little bit more type A and a time management person who can jump in and be like, hey you guys, sorry, we've got to move the line along now and stuff. When I have enough time, I love to have like a good long chat with each person. But if there's like a line of 10 or 20 people waiting, I can't have a really long conversation with people. And sometimes it's easier to have an assistant hop in and be like, hey, sorry, we gotta keep going, but like would love to chat more later. You know, be respectful of the people who are waiting in line. Sometimes you don't need to do that at all, and you can have a nice long conversation with every person who comes to your table. It really depends. I feel like there's different strategies I use and kind of kick into depending on how many people are waiting. Another thing I do is I have everyone write their names down on a sticky note. While they're waiting in line, this is a great way to give them something to do, give them a free pen, give them a sticky note, write their name down if they want their name signed in the book, because not only will I forget someone's name from the moment it leaves their lips to my ears, because I'm so like kind of overwhelmed and overstimulated. I'm in Australia. Sometimes people have lots of different accents and I'll hear a word wrong or a letter wrong and spell it wrong, and I don't want to do that. It just makes it a lot easier if they can write it down on a sticky note. Right, so that is it. That is your comprehensive guide to all of the things that you will need for a book signing event. Of course, every event is different and they will give you recommendations of what you need and advice on, you know, are they breaking for lunch? How do you get to different things? Different venues have different rules. So make sure you're checking in with the event itself. Some events are like very meticulously managed and very well organized, and others are a little bit loosey-goosey, and you just kind of gotta go with the flow and be prepared for like every eventuality of what might happen. Go in with a very open mindset and have a contingency plan for all of the different things that might occur. You might have readers there who are really excited to meet you, and also, you know, be kind to the people who are just browsing, and you might be finding new readers too. You might be discovering new people who are being welcomed into your ecosystem and maybe even becoming lifelong fans. So it is a really special thing when you get to meet people face to face and like build a more kind of intimate connection with your readership. Don't be afraid, don't be nervous, just tell people what you need. Other authors will be there to support you as well. And it's a nice way to like network and meet people. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions about these events, let me know and I will answer them in the vlog that I'm doing next week when I go down to Babe in Sydney. And yeah, happy writing, friends!